Every family has a problem child. There are the children that are athletic, intelligent, or artistic. And then there's the problem child. That's me. When I was younger, I was never the stereotypical problem child, though I suppose it depends on your personal definition. Honestly, I can't seem to remember much of what happened before the age of 8, so I've asked my older brother if I did anything unnerving. So far, he's answered negative to injuring small animals and setting off fires, but he's still trying to find my report cards to check for signs of bad behavior. See, I don't think he takes this seriously, but that's between me and you. Since I got out of the home, he's been trying to shelter me from everything and anything. Calling the institution the home is just one shining example of that. I can't say it bothers me too much, though, because there were bad times to be had there, and I mean bad. They'd hit me, beat me, starve me, and lock me up, and they'd remind me of what I'd done. They didn't need to remind me of what I've done. I can see it in the eyes of anyone who knows me. I feel it every time I move and somebody flinches. My brother never flinches. He speaks softly and leaves me alone. And when I don't want to be left alone, he takes me out somewhere. Anywhere I want to go. I don't know why. Perhaps he loves me. Our younger brother loves me. Or loved me. I used to give him all the prizes out of the cereal boxes, and I taught him to swim in our uncle's pool one summer. The fact that I raised a gun to him makes me sick. I can barely even write this now. I don't care about the others. I don't care. I'm crying now. Can you believe it? Some murderer crying. You probably can. I know others can. My older brother just called to see if I was okay, because he heard me bawling to myself. But I've locked my door. I don't need him in here. He has a rule against me doing that because last time I continuously hit the wall so hard that my knuckles smashed. I can't remember that either. Don't worry, I won't do it now. I'm talking to you. Maybe you aren't worried at all. Maybe you're just wondering what happened when I raised the gun. All you need to know is that he's dead. And he's not the only one. Our parents, uncle, and cousin are all gone too. My older brother struggled through. That's why I don't want him in here. He has a scar on the side of his head. I can't remember it exactly. The doctor said that's common. My memory from the ages of 8 to 16 is simply a blur, and it skips like an old record. From the gunshots and the blood, and the restraints around my tiny wrists, and the cell, and the blood, and the doctors, and the blood, and the pain, and the doctors. They let me go. I mean, obviously they did. My brother found me and said he'd take me. They didn't understand, and neither did I. I cried then too. But not like I'm crying now. It was silent, and he cried too, and hugged me tightly. I said I was sorry, and he said he was sorry too, but I didn't understand. We've lived together in this apartment ever since. My identity is protected forever, and I have the largest room with the bay window. My name, Adrian, was printed on the door before I ever got here, and it gives me the sense that he'd been planning my return for a while. Perhaps the entire time. While I was being psychologically tormented by old men in lab jackets and the ghosts of our loved ones, he was painting my bedroom walls mint green. Now I'm crying even more, and my brother is calling me again, his tone more worried, and he's hitting the door hard. I'm going to hurry up now because you're probably wondering why you're reading a pathetic killer's vague personal history anyway. But I'll tell you why. It's because I finally remembered something. A lot of things. I remembered my parents, constantly arguing, screaming at each other indiscreetly as we all cowered underneath our blankets. I remembered our uncle, shady as he was, yelling at us not to tell our parents when he hit us, and I remembered our cousins sneering at us from the sidelines. I remembered my older brother and I before our younger brother was born, and how close we were. I remembered the point where I became a nuisance to him, when we both became a nuisance to him, and he began acting strangely around us. And finally, I remembered what actually mattered: the gunshots. I became completely immersed in the scene and my heart pounded uncontrollably in my chest. I saw in horror the pools of blood and my small brother lying motionless beside our cousin amongst them. There was a scream, and my older brother had a gun pointed at my face. I never moved. I never begged for help. But he screamed at me, as if I had done something wrong. But I had no idea what he was saying. I stared straight at his face, eyes wide. His screaming turned to crying and his hands trembled. He yelled, "I can't," at me accusingly, and slowly the gun lifted. It hovered for a moment, pointing towards the ceiling. Then, he pressed it to the side of his head and fired. His body crumpled to the ground and I ran to him. I did something stupid afterwards because I was afraid. I grabbed the gun from his hands and stared at it. I held it until the police came. There's only one conclusion they came to when they found somebody holding a gun. My older brother has nearly got the door open now, unnerved because I'm not speaking. But what would I say? For nearly a decade, I've been a murderer. The blood on my hands has washed away. I think of my younger brother. How could he have not pulled through when my older brother did? Now my door is hanging open, and he has stood there. There is no anger on his face, just that strange paternal look of worry and daze. He asks me if I'm okay, and I turn away from the screen just enough so that he won't see. I can't let him see. But I let him hug me and tell me everything will be alright, before accepting an invite to the study, because he has found my report card. As he leaves, he flashes me a bright smile, and I try to return it. Tonight, I'm going to search every inch of this apartment for firearms. He seems to love me now, but he seemed to love me then, and I'm not sure if his hand will tremble so much now.